Hey, sports card fans! Welcome back to another episode of Two Guys, One Hobby. How you doing, Don?
As of this morning, great.
Yeah, now that you have power back on.
Now that I have electricity, I can see. I haven't had power for 3 days, so it sucked.
Wow.
But
Yeah, those storms through Pittsburgh were crazy.
yeah, trees down everywhere and food being thrown away and all kinds of crap. But
Yep.
we're good to go. So
Good. Well, hey, before we bring our guest on, I want to give a really big shout out to Orlando, a collector's dream. The word is that he made it through his surgery, seems to be doing well. I think maybe 1 or 2 more days in the hospital, then he'll be able to recover at home. Doctors, I think they feel confident that they got all the cancer from his lungs. So Orlando, we're still thinking of you and can't wait to see you at the National.
yeah, absolutely, buddy. Prayers for you, man. Love you, Orlando.
Yep. And so today's guest is someone that let's just say I'm a little jealous of, and we had a little conversation before we started recording here. There are a lot of YouTubers out there, Don, you're one of them as well, that loves reading about and learning about the history of the game. And I just can't, for whatever reason, focus on reading and learning about some of the players and different things. And it's always been something I felt is lacking as part of my knowledge of the history of baseball. I love cards and the players.
Yeah, well, it's actually shown on some of our videos, your lack of knowledge.
Well, yeah, that is true. Well, lack of knowledge in general. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Yes. But this our guest here loves to read up on players, teams, the history of the game, plus also collects vintage cards and some modern cards as well. He's been on YouTube for about 2 years. So let's welcome Dave, Legends of the Dugout. How you doing, Dave?
I am good. Dealing with my own thunderstorms here right now, but
oh, really?
Actually, my wife
passed here in a little bit.
So good to see you. Glad you're on, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you got your power back on, and
I'm all good.
Good intro there, John, for Orlando.
Yeah, I know the whole community's been thinking of him and praying for him. So glad everything, at least so far, seems to be going well. So, Dave, for some of those out there that may not be familiar with your channel, obviously you've been around for 2 years. You've been involved in the community, but maybe just talk about your collecting background, what you're into, and maybe we can get into what you're currently reading in terms of the history of the game. And I know, Dawn, you've been reading something as well, so we can get into that. So.
Okay. I'm Dave. Retired Army. Did 20 years. Been to Afghanistan a few times, Iraq once. Been all over the world pretty much. But like collecting wise, started as a kid. Got involved in that, like playing Little League. My dad took me to my first Tigers game, I think in '85, right after they won the World Series in '84, which was interesting. So that kind of drew me in more to baseball and wanted to learn about it. And then, of course, everybody's same old story, get about a teenager and it's girls and cars and some other stuff. And then later on, I think probably about 2010, I got back into it, collecting. It was more modern at that time. And kind of dabbled a little bit in the vintage, and I thought, it was like, I thought to me at that time it was out of my price range, but then I was like, man, back then it was like really in my price range. So I still, like, today I kick myself in the butt for not buying that PSA 5 Nolan Ryan rookie for $300. So, but yeah, just collecting, like vintage. I like learning about it. Currently reading a book, on a player that's very interesting. But yeah, that's myself right there in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah. So what in terms of modern and vintage, are there certain players or teams that you focus on? I think recently you've been working on a Don Drysdale run and some other, beyond his Topps cards. I know you've picked up a lot of, I don't want to say oddball, but just non-mainstream cards of Don Drysdale. Are there any other players that you have done runs on or you focus on, or is it just general interest?
For some reason, I don't know why, but I'm like falling more in love with like that late 40s, 50s, 60s Dodgers team. So Reese, Hodges, Campanella, Drysdale, Koufax. For some reason, I don't know why it's just drawing me to that team. I think it's just interesting because maybe I'm an oddball myself and don't want to go for the Yankees stuff, because everybody's, all about the Yankees. So
I'm not.
Yeah. But
are you just collecting Hall of Famers, or are you collecting guys like Don Newcomb and some of the other guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna start looking at him and Ferrillo and stuff too, and Gillum. Look at those guys too as time goes on. But like, I love pre-war stuff. I love the just the aesthetics of the cards, like how they just came about. I don't know why. It's just they're just art to me. I love art, So it's like one of my favorite things and subjects in school was art and drawing. Not as good as Scott or Eric or anybody else, but like just that stuff is just like draws me in for some reason.
Well, a lot of the stuff were cards back then. There were photos taken, but the cards themselves were artists either colored in or over through whatever the printing process. But they were actually artists who did, and especially the early 50s, Topps cards. Those were done by artists from photographs.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it went all the way into like the early to mid 50s, but definitely pre-war. Now you did have some cards that the play balls for a couple of years there were actual photographs, but you go back to the Gaudies and the Diamond Stars and all those sets. I mean, they're works of art.
Yeah.
Any particular like pre-war sets that you like to collect, or certain players, or?
No, I just I like Hall of Famers like everybody else does. But I just want like a card from like a set, I'm not like trying to go after every like completing sets. I'm not a set collector. The stuff I thought about doing it, but I was like, that is way too much money, a lot of time, and I don't got that. Like, I just want to focus on, a card from like a Cracker Jack set or a DeLong or, an old Judge or something like that along the way, and just have it, just have a nice piece and something that resembles what I like,
What's the oldest pre-war card you have? Farthest back.
I think it is. I do have an old Judge.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But I think the oldest one will probably be this one here. It's an 1884.
Wow.
It's just
you really went pre-war.
So is that a playing card? Okay, yeah.
Lawson. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it's like I think it's like a 60 card set, and then there's a blue back and there's a red back. And there, if I remember right, on there.
Who was the player on there, Dave?
No, it's not a player. It's just the position of striker.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So there's that, and then my old Judge card. I'm trying to remember who it is of. It's nobody special. It's just a common card.
But you have the card from the set.
Yeah. But this year at the National, there's a couple cards, old Judges, that I'm going to be looking for due to the book that I'm currently reading.
Okay.
Yeah. So I definitely want to get like one or two. I think he has like a couple of variations in the old Judge that I want to look for, and a couple of the players that he played with.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, but you mentioned the book. What's the book about? Is it about the player or the team or the era? What's it about?
So it takes place in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's Pete Browning, and it's the original Louisville Slugger.
Oh, all right.
So, and it talks about how like he played in like the 1880s through the like 1890s. But there's a story, like it goes about how he went to Louisville. Like it wasn't the Sluggers at the time; they did other woodworking, and he ended up like talking to somebody that worked there and was like, "Yeah, I'll make a bat for you," because his got broken. So that's how they ended up becoming the Louisville Slugger.
Really?
All right.
Yeah, that's like part of the story. And I guess at the factory there, I guess there's stories of him pictures. I had never been there, but I'm guessing yeah.
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, it's on mine too. And this guy, he was like up there as like his batting titles and stuff. Like he was like top up there, like with Camp Anson.
All right.
Yeah, but he was an alcoholic, so like he missed stuff. But yeah, it's hilarious, the stuff. Like he called his eyes lamps. Like, oh, yeah, he's such a weird guy. Like he didn't like school. Like his focus was all baseball. Like he was very knowledgeable in baseball.
So this was an author doing sort of a biography on this player and the tie to the Louisville Slugger.
Yeah, so the author is Tim Newbie. I'm going to be, after I finish this, I got a schedule with him. I already reached out to him about doing an interview talking about his book.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So if you don't mind me asking, like, how do you get a hold of an author like that? How did you find?
So I'm on a Facebook group that's like all baseball books.
Okay.
And so he's a part of that group. And he was like talking like, hey, I released my book or whatever. And I was like, man, that's pretty interesting. So I reached out and I was like, hey, would you want to come on my YouTube channel and do an interview about your book? And I was like, I got to get it and read it so I know what to talk about.
Right.
I don't look like an idiot, like this do an interview in a book I didn't read. So
that's how you found out about the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, you can find a bunch of baseball books. People are like either give them away or sell them, for cheap, or just like here's a couple bucks and just pay for shipping in there. Yep.
I'll have to check that out and get that from you after we get off here. That's cool.
Well, I can send you I think I can send you an invite since we're friends on
Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
I think, John, you and I are friends on Facebook too.
I'm pretty sure we are, yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how to read.
I'll send a link over to you guys.
Okay. So, Dawn, what are you currently reading? I know you said you broke out a new book when the power went out to start reading.
Yeah, so actually, my buddy Reindeer loaned this to me. It's Strongersville. So it's written by Dwyer Brown, who is the actor who played the dad in Field of Dreams. And it's pretty interesting. Parts of it, like the parts where he talks about the film, and like is very cool. Sometimes he gets into his acting career and things like that. I kind of skimmed through that. I'm not as interested in that. But like he was sitting in makeup and James Earl Jones was sitting next to him and he's like, oh my God, like what do I say to this guy? And James Earl just put his hand over and said, hi, I'm Jimmy. I'm like, Jimmy. Who knows Jimmy? But I was laughing because in the front of this book here, so somebody named Gavin used to own it. He said, hey, Gavin, want to have a catch? And apparently Gavin did not because the book is gone. But it's, it's not really a baseball history per se, but I love the movie so much. Obviously, my freaking channel is named after it.
Oh, you do? I wasn't aware that you liked the movie.
A little bit. But, it's interesting so far, but trying to think who I just finished one. I've got another on deck about Willie Horton. You were talking about the Detroit Tigers. And kind of a forgotten type guy. I was surprised they wrote a book about him. But and then you were talking about Glory of Their Times, which everyone talks about, John. You're thinking about reading that. And like we were saying off air, for me anyways, listening to it, is better because they have the actual interviews of these guys. And it's just fantastic. And I know a lot of people have purchased cards after learning about these guys from that book.
Yeah, I know a lot of collectors that, and Dave, I have a sort of a follow up that, they'll learn something about a player or some aspect of the history of the game, and they're like, oh, that'd be cool to have a card of this player who I learned about.
Right.
One of the videos, Dave, that I'm trying to think which one it was, but you had bought, or maybe it was a gift, I don't know. Was it a Hank Aaron book? Was it? I don't know if it was a Hank Aaron or Willie May.
So I have. Hold on, let me grab it real quick. I got two actually.
Okay.
So I read this one. I had a hammer.
Okay.
Yeah, I've read that.
And then for Christmas, my mom, bought this one here, The Last Hero.
All right.
Yeah. So I haven't got to read that one yet. I mean, I think they're almost about the same size in reading.
Yeah.
So they're pretty thick. And then, like my mom also got me, a Satchel Paige.
Oh.
One I got to start too. But like, there's another one that's like a book that I want to get into. I found at a secondhand store, and that's just the dust cover of it. But it's the old game and how John McGraw and Christy Mathewson created modern baseball.
Oh, that's cool.
So
yeah, I have
it's a hardcover
that I haven't even started yet.
Oh, you haven't even started those yet, Don?
None of these. My guy, though. Look how old and yellow these pages are.
Oh, geez.
Oh, man.
I don't even know. I think I got that at a garage sale or something.
Yeah, I love books like that are that old. They just have that feel, that smell.
Yeah.
Smell like old baseball cards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
50 cents.
Wow.
And I guess the guy wrote one about Johnny Unitas too, apparently. And there's a good chance some of those will never get read. Can't talk.
Have you guys read the Bubblegum Wars?
Yes.
No, I had this is turning into an episode. Like, if I were to ever ask my wife, in terms of movies, have you ever seen? And as soon as I get that question out, she's like, no, because she's never really watched movies. So yeah, if anyone asks me, hey, have you read? That the answer is going to be no. But always love hearing about that. What good books are out there if I ever get around to doing some reading. So.
I'm drawing a blank on this book. It's about a guy who opened a pack of baseball cards, and let's just say there were 12 cards in the pack. So his mission was to find all 12 guys who were in that pack and interview them.
I heard about that.
I was sitting at the National at a bar, I think with James. I forget who else was with me. It turns out the author was sitting right next to us at the bar of that book, and he signed his card for us. It was really cool. And I'm like, I've read your book, because I had actually read it before I met him. And wow. I can't think of the frickin' name of it. But I think one person had passed, so he couldn't get all 12 of them, but he got 11 of them. And so most of them were common cards, so it was pretty easy to get these guys. But Carlton Fisk was in there. And that was, but he got an interview with him, but that was his tough one.
Well, how did he remember, the cards from his first pack? How long ago?
No, it wasn't his first pack. It was an experiment. He literally went and got a pack.
Oh, okay. I thought you said he remembered the first pack that he got.
But it was
okay.
It was a junk wax era, I think. So maybe the pack was 15 years old or 20 years old or something like that. So it wasn't, active players. They were all retired. But he just bought, he can buy an old pack, and he opened it up and he wrote a freaking book about it. And it turns out he's a engineering professor or something like that. I thought he was an English professor, right? He's no, I teach mathematics, but I love baseball.
Wow.
I wish I could remember the name of it.
That sounds like
someone later on in the comments will know.
Yeah.
So, Dave, you said that you're going to be attending this year's national.
Yes.
Okay. Is this this isn't the you attended, was it last year's national? Were you in
I did Cleveland last year and Chicago before.
Okay, so this will be a third. Okay.
It'll be my fourth national.
Oh, fourth.
Yeah, but third in a row.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And my first one was 2012 in Baltimore.
Yeah, I never that was before I started going. I think 2015 was my first.
Yeah, I remember that national. Like I could still see in my head of certain things in that show, and it's the prices on things was just it was like I kicked myself in the butt on that one too. I remember being at a guy's booth looking at vintage cards, and a guy pops up with the what is it the 40. It's the Jackie Rouse, the red one. What was that, 48 or 49?
49 Bowman.
Yeah, 49 Bowman. And he asked the dealer, he's like, you want to buy this for like $300?
Oh my.
And the dealer looks at it and he's like, nah, I'll pass. And he looks at me and he goes, do you want to buy it? And I looked at it and I was just like, no, I'll pass. Kind of thing. And it was, but I can't remember if it was graded or ungraded. I can't remember. But it's like I kicked myself in the butt for not spending it. And I remember I only had $1,200 to spend at the show.
Yeah.
But I was more into autographs and looking at different things. So yeah, there's a lot of kick myself in the butt moments. And it's also funny. There's a table, there's probably like an 8-foot, 10-foot table. There's probably about 2 of those together. And there was just stacks of slabs on there. And it was like $5 a slab.
What?
And so I went rummaging through and I got a couple 55 Bowmans out of there. They were like graded, one's a 7. I think the other one's like a 6 or something, or a 5.
Wow.
And then I seen there was like a stack of 89 Upper Deck Griffey Juniors that were different grades for $5 a piece. And I was just like, man, if I know what I know now,
Yeah. So you said that I think you said,
okay,
you started off maybe with more modern cards and then you got into vintage.
Yeah, and 10 I started buying like the 2010 tops, getting back into doing that side, just buying packs, the blaster boxes, hanger boxes, whatever. My wife went grocery shopping. I'm like, hey, while you're there, go get me bring me home a box or something. And then
was it because of that you followed, that you watched the games and
oh yeah, I started getting back in. It was because it also was the time that my wife was pregnant with our first kid, and we found out it was like we're having a boy. So it was just like, hey, it was like this was instilled in me kind of thing. I want to do the same with him. He does not care for baseball. He's all into soccer. So there goes. But to me, cards are cards. I never got out of it right now. So been in it for the last 14 years, so dealing with it. But I was out because I was in the military. So I had to go out to different locations, and I was out in Tucson, Arizona. I stopped at a card shop out there, and I was looking at stuff, and that's how I kind of fell in love with vintage stuff, because it was just there, and I was enamored with it. And then I was I think I bought something from the guy. Then we were somewhere else, and I went to a card shop, and he had a couple beater stuff, and that's how I ended up with my torn 57 Aaron, and I think the my 54 Mays. They were cheap. I can't remember what I paid. I mean, it was a couple bucks or something for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was like pig and shit, hog heaven, just king of the world with having these vintage cards that are well-known players. And I was just up there. cloud nine, and just, and now I'm like, yeah, that like really not that great looking cards, but to me they were the world.
Yeah,
and they got a cool story behind
that's all
them.
that matters. What if you like the card, whatever. I mean, if it's a beat up card and you love the look, knowing that there may be some history to it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And like I showed my recent 57 Aaron that I got. It's a 1, and it's like really looks good. Mm-hmm. Well, that sits in a box, but the torn one sits on my shelf still. But, it's like I can't get rid of it. It's like I feel like
the torn one has a better story.
Yeah. So
yeah, well, my 64 Topps Mantle, which I'll never get graded because there's no point to it because it's so severely miscut. But I picked that up in a trade as a kid. I was maybe 10 years old, 10, 12 years old, with a neighborhood kid. And he had a bunch of 64s from some relative. And I just liked them because they were old cards. And there's a Mickey Mantle in there. That was my first Mickey Mantle. I mean, like it would probably be like a 1 miscut. I mean, there's creases on and stuff. But I'll never get rid of the card because it just has so many memories to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The sentimental value is more than the cost of it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, even if you see some of the showcase showdowns between Christopher Missouri and Mike Baseball Collector, a lot of the cards that Chris had in terms of his different battles were one of the ones that he could have gone out and bought newer copies of, but some of the ones are the ones that he had as a kid that would do the
mowing lawn
tours for that one neighbor and stuff, and she'd give him some cards. So they were like 1s, 2s, 3s.
I think that's her name.
Yeah. So, but he doesn't care. He doesn't need to have a replacement that's in a higher grade because that card is special to him and he got it graded, and he doesn't care if it's a 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So you talked about wanting to get some old Judge cards at the National. Are there other current focus that you still trying to build some more Don Drysdale cards, or
yes.
there's some other players that you're looking to pick up?
So
or build?
I'm looking at finishing the I guess the flagship, his base run of Topps, and then looking up, like as you guys seen, like Petty sent me the hires, root beer Drysdale without the tab. So now I'm going to try to find one.
I love this
with the tab.
Okay.
There. I know there's some higher end stuff.
You have this one?
I do not have that one. I need to find that one.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I'm trying to think. I want to say there's a 58 Bell brand out there of him too. I'm trying to think what else. I'm trying to remember. There's some other.
Yeah, the Dodgers have some out there sets, kind of like a lot of the Milwaukee Braves have a lot of oddball sets too.
Yeah,
the Dodgers have a run of those oddball sets.
Yeah, I got the I got a lot of stuff that's sitting here next to me. I mean, I got the Dodgers pinup.
Oh, that's cool.
Of them, I want to get the Koufax of this too. I wouldn't mind having the whole envelope with all the cards in it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, so it was a team issue, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what year that. I think it's 62 or 63 that's from there. I know there's some other ones. The most expensive one I know of is the 59 Bazooka panel with him holding the bat. There's one that just recently came up for sale, and I was Sammy Thunder found it, I think, and I was like, man, I can't afford that right now.
Yeah.
And I know the showing me Don, he was looking for that card. Yeah.
Okay. So how far down the rabbit hole you plan on going with Don Drysdale? Like I said, because Don, I mean, I'm sure if you look at like a master, the set
The
registry, even though you may not be doing the registry, but I use that just as a checklist. I mean, how far of a complete player run are you looking to do?
I don't know. I just probably just do his flagship, top stuff, and just see how far I can go with the oddball stuff, before I'm like, do I really want to pay that for it? Or could I spend it more on, like a Reese or, Campanella or something like that, to build that out also. I mean, it's a run, marathon, not a sprint, kind of thing. So taking my time with it and enjoying it, piece by piece, try to find the right piece for my collection.
Yeah. The only player for me so far where and it's not really, if you think about it, I haven't gone too far down, and I'm afraid to go down the rabbit hole because I don't want to go off of my main projects. Is Corey Yastrzemski. Because I have his complete tops run, and then into his 80s, I have his Donruss and Flair. But now I'm looking at, all right, would love to pick up his tops Giants. Possibly, I'd love to pick up his stand up, but that's a short print and stuff. But I don't know. I don't want to go all the way into. I don't want to start getting into like deep into Corey Yastrzemski. But it'd be nice to go, a little bit beyond his base playing days run with Topps, Flair, and Donruss. Yeah, that one.
That's a
yes. Yeah. Let's look at that.
We could probably say any player, Don, and you're just going to be like pulling those out of your set there.
Out of this set, I don't have many sets left, but this one. But John, you just said you didn't want to go down a rabbit hole with a player. Look at that case. Look at that case behind you.
Who would want to go?
I'm like, what are you talking about? You're like the king.
Who would want to do? No, I mean, if anything, it's like, okay, been there, done that. But with a vintage player, there's so many vintage cards that I want to add to my collection, and rather than take what money I have and just try to build out one player, then I'm missing out on completing other player runs, just the base stuff. Right. So maybe in the future, as I have, I completed this player run and that player run and that player run. Okay, now maybe I do want to go back to a different player. Maybe it's just Yastrzemski, maybe it's someone else, and start adding more, different cards, some interesting cards to my collection. But
you said interesting cards. And that's kind of the fun of it. It's like all these cars I'd love to have, but we've seen them so many times, where like Museo is hard to find, but I was able to find like this neat piece in Strongsville. So, it's not something I see all the time. Not that it's rare, but it's not, there's not like his, 63 or whatever. There's just tons of them out there.
And I want to say Yastrzemski maybe in that. No, that's from the 40s. He wouldn't be. It's Ted Williams. It's Ted Williams. I'd love to get the Ted Williams. Yeah, I knew it wasn't. As soon as I said it, it's Ted Williams.
Yeah, these are.
That would be one that I could see wanting to add to my collection of Ted Williams.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he probably has I know he has the larger one, just like this team, and I think he has the dual.
These, what do I want to call them? Each half has their own card as a larger one.
Yeah.
So now I can technically get 3 Museos. I'm sorry?
Who's with the Stan Musial there?
These are both Stan Musial.
Oh, they both. Okay, so then I think Ted Williams has 2 versions. For some reason,
he would probably have 3. He probably has the dual, and then they have a big version of each picture.
Right. Right.
Okay. I think the dual is a type 2, and then the single's a type 1, if I'm right.
Correct.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to get
where the PH has the large Jackie Robinson
with the star on the side.
He has the smaller ones yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Instead of the price tag, the 10 cents or 15 cents, he has the one with the blue star.
Yeah.
on it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was there when he picked it up at last year's national. That's a great looking card or item.
So who else do you like to collect? So you're originally from Michigan, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the fascination with the Dodgers over the Tigers?
It's just I think it's just that era of the Dodgers to me. I mean, because like the Tigers, they really didn't have like big players, I guess, during that time. I mean, you had, K-Line come in, in mid-50s and everything, became Mr. Tiger. But other than that, I mean, you had you're not your greats, but they were like good players.
You got Hank Greenberg. You got Charlie Gehringer. This guy named
Ty. That's kind of like my yeah. So Charlie Gehringer is kind of like growing on me too. So I'm like slowly picking up, a piece here and a piece there, of him. It's like I picked up that that stamp from Rick at last year's national.
Okay.
And I looked it up. It's a pop 2. There's only 2 graded by PSA. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then I got the wide pen, I guess postcard or exhibit.
The exhibit.
I got that at Christmas. I bought that on eBay. I think I got like the Gouty, the 33 Gouty, like all 4 Tigers all in one.
All right.
Yeah. And stuff. So, I mean, I'll collect that stuff, but it's I mean, I like a lot of oddball. I mean, you can see like, I got like little figures or little statues or whatever, and I mean, it just like little things of baseball is just kind of weird. I mean, I got like the old Tiger Stadium, sitting out there from the Danbury Mint. I think my mom found at a garage sale for like a couple bucks or whatever, and thought of you, kind of thing. And so, I mean, it's just
So you're from what I can just even see in the background, what you've been talking about, it sounds like your collection is just a bunch of items, whether it be balls or magazines or photographs, autographs, figurines, cards of just players and teams that you just have an interest in. Like you see something and go, well, that's cool and interesting, and you add it to your collection. That it's not like me, like, okay, yeah, for nearly 30 years I've collected Wade Boggs and that's all I did, and now I'm building vintage. Or some other players may have whether it be like complete sets. It sounds like you're don't take this wrong, because it's not all over the place, because you do have some focuses, but it sounds like you just, which I admire, is you see something, and if you like it and you think it's, hey, that's cool. That's a cool. I read about this player, or there maybe this team or the set. I want to add this card or this item to my collection, and you're just building a unique collection.
Unique thing, and you say it because to me it's like a hodgepodge of stuff, and I know like I'm going to lift this up. So that newspaper right there is, I think, from either May or April, March or something. I believe I can't remember the year, but up there in the photo is Lou Gehrig during spring training batting. And there's an article on Babe Ruth if he's going to take the $50,000 contract. And I think I paid like $5 for that newspaper at a card shop, kind of thing. I was like just rummaging through things, and I was like, I saw like, oh, it's Lou Gehrig, and then I was like, oh crap, there's an article about Babe Ruth taking a contract. So I was like, this is kind of cool. And I think that's like an original like glove from whatever Lou Gehrig, the Kenwell brand gloves.
Okay.
That's up there, so there's different things. And then it's like the Pride of the Yankees with the Lou Gehrig comic book that's up there, too. So, I mean, I got all that from the same card shop, I've been to a couple times up in Virginia.
Okay.
When I, go up there for work for something. And I mean, it's just, I find different things. I like to dig through things and just to see what I can find. So my uncle still lives up in Michigan, and he caretake for a guy up there, and he passed away last July, like right after 4th of July and stuff. And the dude, the guy, he owned a funeral home, crematory and stuff. He didn't have kids. He wasn't married. He just only had like a niece and nephew. So, but the dude was a millionaire, and he loved buying antiques. So he lived like in this 27-bedroom like mansion house that was built in the 1800s, and like going through, I mean, he had so much cool stuff in there. But the reason like I went to the house is because my uncle came down with one of his brothers and sisters, and so my all their uncle and aunt, but they came down because my grandmother here was, she had a stroke, and they would come down to see her for Mother's Day and stuff. And we were all going to a NASCAR race as for like a little break for them. And they were talking about something. I was like, I happen to have any baseball cards. And he was like, matter of fact, we got a bunch. I was just going to give to a pawn shop or whatever. He was like, they're yours, but you got to come get them. So I had no clue what was in there, but the only vintage thing was like a 2-row box of cards. That was vintage. Everything else was 80s, 90s junk kind of thing. And I ended up bringing that up with me to the National last year and donating it to a guy that was doing a charity. So I had a truckload of cards I just donated to the guy. Well, a few weeks ago, my aunt that lives here in town where I'm at, she's like, hey, I'm going up to see him. Is there anything from the house you want? And I was like, so I sent her a couple pictures and stuff, and nothing back. So was it last weekend? I think she came over like Easter or something like that. Not Easter, it was this past Sunday. She came over, and she came in the house, and she had a baggie with her. And she was like, hey, he found this in a drawer, and he wants you to have it. He apologizes, the cover's not on it. And I was like, okay. And I'd never seen it before. And I sent the pictures to Stuke, but it's a 1929, I think it's like the slugging leaders, and so it has, in there, I mean, and then the back of it, it has like.
Oh, that is cool.
It is cool.
So, I mean, if like just going through, I mean, so it is a little booklet. Okay.
It is a booklet, and it's like, like Gehrig, and, I mean, it's just different players from that time period.
Wow.
And their stats from in there. And I was like, I have no clue, like, what this is worth, like, what it is, nothing. And so I reached out to Scott Stuke, and he's like, I think it's some magazine. And he found something on Worth Point or something. But I can't see what it sold for. But I found a 1930s version of it on eBay, and it's like somebody's asking $200 for it. So it's like little pieces like that I kind of find interesting.
It's a cool piece of baseball history of something like that, and that's a really good that back advertisement or whatever with Ruth there. That's gorgeous.
Because then here, let me find the middle of it, because it's the middle piece in here, because it tells you like how to like the last few pages is like how to become a better batter, but like this middle piece is
wow,
in every World Series, and it had photos of the 29 World Series. So I mean,
that's a fantastic piece.
I know.
To find.
That is beautiful.
But I figure it's like stuff like this, like say like the back of this, right? If you just found this by itself and got it graded, like with this piece just by itself, like go for quite a bit. Because I mean, it's his playing day year.
Yeah.
He's still playing in 1929, 1930 when that was released. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's only probably a couple $100 for that piece right there. But again, if it was just a cut off piece and somebody graded it, it's a playing days Ruth, kind of thing, and probably go for more. But I'm not worried about it. I was like, going through that and just seeing like the stats of the players is
it's cool to look through rather than say, hey, let me tear the page off so I can grade the Ruth and then ruin the rest of the item.
Is it very brittle or fragile?
Yeah. It's like, I'm kind of careful with it. Like I was like very slowly like opening it up and taking photos of all the pages. Afterward, I'll send you guys all the photos of it that's in there. It's pretty interesting.
I have, and I've been meaning to look through it, just never have. My grandfather on my dad's side was a local historian of the town that I grew up in, and I was like the fifth generation of my family to grow up in this town. Anyway, he was an attorney, transactional attorney, wills, deeds, things like that. But he was interested in the history of the town. Even did some genealogy in our family. But he would go around and collect stuff that we either at yard sales or whatever that had anything to do with the history of the town. And we had a town newspaper. It's still around, but it's the shell of what it used to be. And what they used to do is they would, and it's huge. It's basically the size of the newspaper unfolded, right? And they put it in book format, and they did it for an entire year. And this, and he had one, and I have it in my collection now, and I forget what year it's from. Wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere in the 1920s, maybe 30s, but I'm guessing 1920s. And it's a copy. I don't think it's not a modern reproduction because it's old. And I think it's a copy of the paper of each issue for an entire year, or maybe it's only 6 months or something like that. But it's a couple inches thick.
Okay.
And I've been meaning to look through it because there very well could be a section dealing with sports coverage or baseball or something. And who knows if there's something in there that may have an image of Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, you name it, talking about maybe a World Series or this or whatever. So I've been meaning to go through it. The question would then be, the thing itself is not worth. It's a local town newspaper thing. I mean, it's not worth much. If I do find something, whether it would make sense to carefully cut that page out and maybe frame it or something like that, because I don't think I'd be really ruining.
I wouldn't like cut it out. I'd probably just get a photocopy of it of that. But like, how interesting would it be if you found articles about one of your family members in there?
Oh, there very well could be, because we had a creamery. We did milk ice cream, and it started in. Well, it had been around during that time, so there could be actually some advertisements for West Branch Creamery or Reichard's Ice Cream in there. Yeah, so I could probably even see something there.
Well, how cool would it have been if your family that was running that was doing baseball cards?
Yeah,
and they're very rare.
Yeah. Reichard. Yeah. You need the Reichard edition on the back, like England.
Yeah, so I really do need to go through that, but again, it's 2 inches thick of going through.
There might be stuff about Christy Mathewson. I mean, isn't he from around where you're from?
I'm sorry, what?
Isn't Christy Mathewson from around your area?
Well, Christy Mathewson is buried in the Lewisburg Cemetery, which is next to Bucknell University, which I went and got my master's degree, and I grew up in the town right across the river.
Okay.
Sammy Thunder was there recently. I didn't realize it, but when he knew where I lived, he's like, "Oh man, I was just in your backyard. I went to see Christy Mathewson's tombstone and stuff." But
there might be articles about him in there, being that he's from that area.
Yeah, there very well could be. Well, if it was from the 1920s, he would have already been out of baseball and stuff. So unless it goes maybe in the I don't know what year it's from. At least it's just 1 year, and it may not even be the full year. So I don't know. I just need to take the time to look through it. I never have. I've had it for years, just never looked through it. But before we maybe get toward the end here, I do have a trivia question.
Okay. Like everybody says, I'm going to fail this.
Yeah. Well, actually, it may be. No, now knowing that you're into some of the Dodgers and things like this, it may be a little bit later than the time frame. No, it's around the time frame that you're following the Dodgers or collecting the Dodgers. Here's the question.
Okay.
Among players with at least 75 at-bats, who led the 1965 Dodgers in both batting average and slugging percentage?
You said 65?
65.
Oh, man. $65.
I'll give you maybe a little bit of a hint.
Willie Davis.
I think the 65. I don't think the Dodgers. Did the Dodgers win the World Series in 65? I don't think so. They may have made the World Series.
Not quite sure.
But they were a terrible offensive team in 65.
65.
But
I'm trying to remember who was on the team in 65.
The Dodgers ranked first in stolen bases, first in fewest runs allowed, first in team ERA, first in complete games led by Koufax and Drysdale, and second in fielding percentage. But they were dead last in home runs, 9th in the league in slugging, 8th in runs scored, and 7th in batting average. So their offense sucked, but their pitching was outstanding.
Repeat that question, John.
Sure. Among players with at least 75 at-bats on the team, so just 75 at-bats, who led the 65 Dodgers in both batting average and slugging percentage?
Sandy Koufax.
Is that your guess, Don?
Yes.
All right, Dave, what do you think?
I have no clue.
Don, you're close.
Drysdale.
And Dave, I'm disappointed in you because it's Don Drysdale.
When you said minimum of 75 at bats, I'm like, it's got to be a pitcher.
Yep.
Because it would be.
Yeah, of course.
Drysdale in 1965.
And Dave was laughing at
300, 4 doubles, 1 triple, 7 home runs. And he had a .508 slugging percentage.
Yeah.
And Lou Johnson was second on the team in slugging percentage with .391. And Maury Wills had the highest batting average among everyday players at .286.
Yeah, I was thinking of Maury Wills. I just couldn't think of his last name at that. And I was like,
I didn't want to give too much away because we were talking about Don Drysdale and so I was like, I figured, you'd probably pick it up right away.
75 at bats. I was like, I don't know.
Well, that's why I asked you to repeat the question because I was like, okay, it was a big deal that a minimum of 75 at bats. And I was like, it's either Drysdale or Koufax. I picked the wrong one.
Yep, but I forget. There's something here about between Koufax and Drysdale. They had what is it here? I don't know if I can find it. They had something like 59 wins between the two pitchers. Yeah, Koufax was 26-8 that year, and Drysdale was 23-12. They had 49 wins between those two pitchers, and then their third pitcher, I forget who, had 15 wins that season. So they were terribly off. They were terrible offensively, but their pitching was so good that they didn't need to score a lot of runs. And I think I want to say they finished first in the National League in 65. So I think they made the World Series, but I forget who they would have played. But
I don't even know
on that stuff.
Anyway, I just thought I thought that was interesting. I was trying to look up Dodgers trivia and.
Yeah, I feel like I should have known that, but I was just like, yeah. First, I wasn't thinking about pitcher though. I wasn't thinking about pitcher.
Yeah, there was something else about Drysdale about career home runs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He has 27 career home runs or something. He was one of the better hitting pitchers, especially of his day.
Yeah, I think Warren Spahn is on that list too.
Yeah, there was something unique about Spawn that, and it was with his hitting stats, not just his pitching stats, but he had, oh shoot, what was it? It was like the same number of hits or home runs or something. Not like Stan Musial with the home and away, career hits, but there was something, and I forget what the stat was, but there was something with Warren Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know what it was. He had the same number of hits and home runs with each team that he played for, because he played for the Mets, and then he played the different Braves, like the Milwaukee Braves and then the Atlanta Braves and things like that. And they broke it down or something like that. And he had like the same number or something. It was something, some weird stat someone looked up and saw. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. The stats, I don't pay attention to those for some reason.
Yeah, I'm not great on that stuff.
I don't know a lot, but what I do remember some stats, and some I'm like, oh yeah, I think I remember. I hear something, but I may not have the exact numbers. But that type of stuff is stuff that I can remember and have interest as opposed to getting back the whole reading about the history and players and stuff, and doing that. I'm more of a numbers person, and so I remember the odd weird baseball stat over. Oh yeah, I read about the history of this one player and he did this and that, and so.
See, that's what I was thinking. Like when you were talking about that newspaper, I would have been in that thing in a heartbeat, like because of the history. Where you're, like you said, you're the numbers guy. Where I would have been like, I gotta see what's in here.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I need to go sit down and go through it. I keep thinking. I think about it every once in a while, and then I get off on something else, and long time goes by. I'm like, oh yeah, I really need to go and check that out, and because I'm pretty sure it's from one of the years in the 1920s. I think maybe it's but even if it's later, even if it's in the 30s or 40s, there very, very well could be stuff baseball related.
right.
Mm-hmm. So. It could be.
Yep. Well, we're getting around the hour limit there. Is there anything else that you want to bring up, talk about the national that's coming up, or Don, anything you have on your mind?
No, I think we covered everything pretty well.
Yeah. So are you going to be out there for the national for most of the national there, Dave, or just a couple days?
Yeah, I'll get in Tuesday around noon, and then I leave Sunday.
Okay, yeah, you're almost there. I'm heading back Monday because Boggs typically signs on the Sunday, so I stick around to see him. But yeah, I'll be heading out Tuesday as well. So yeah,
because
obviously it's going to be a great time.
Because I found out I was talking with Matt, the card story and stuff, and I was contemplating should I buy the VIP ticket or should I just do the 5-day early entry like I did last year? He was like, what about that video that I showed you about the guy getting in for free for being military?
Oh.
And I was just like, oh, yeah, kind of thing. So I reached out to whoever the contact us thing is on their website. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, you get in free. Just show your ID and you get in.
Really?
You get a general admission ticket.
Well, that's great.
For each day. But I was like, I'm figuring out the math on it. And I was like, why don't they just give you a 5-day early entry, for the whole time? It's about the same cost anyways. Yeah. So I reached out to, what's his name? Ray Schulte. Okay. I guess he's like their big PR guy or something. And I have not heard back from him at all. I know he's doing a lot of things with Don Mattingly, some stuff there. So if I don't hear nothing from him, I'll see him at the show and chat with him, try to make things easier, for military folks, because it's going to be a pain in the butt going up every day and there's my ID and they get my
yeah. See, okay, that's right. Yeah, you would have to go up every day and you wouldn't get the early entry but you still get in free, but that extra hassle of having to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like last year was a 30-minute wait between VIPs and early entry, public, this year it's an hour, difference, so I don't know. I might try to sneak in with all the tall guys, sneak in behind, getting in.
I'm not going to be there. So you better go behind Sammy.
You're not going to be there?
Nah. The Strongsville was my national this year.
Okay.
So.
But hey, you picked up that great Sandy Koufax 54 stand-up or 64 stand-up.
64. Yeah.
So that's complete now. Back to a complete set or the Hall of Famers.
Yeah, it was complete at one time, and I got rid of that card, and then I changed my mind and got it again. So
yeah. You need to have that Hall of Fame run. That's just a beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. As everyone knows, I show it all the freaking time. But
so, Dave, one last thing here. Talk about the national, maybe other shows that you go to. Getting back to how you collect. Yeah. So you mentioned that you may have your eyes specifically on a couple of old judge cards at the national, but are you going to have the attitude going in that you're just going to walk around, and if something in a booth or display case or something like that, did you look and you're like, wow, that's cool, and you're just leaving yourself wide open, or do you have other targets for the national?
I don't know. Like I know I have a certain budget, and so I know I want to go after a Ty Cobb. There's a couple Ty Cobbs. Okay. Like there's like a playing days card, and I know there's like a postcard or exhibit card of him, batting. I'm gonna try to see. I mean, they're around my price range of things with leftover to spend on other things.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just want to see if I can find something. If not, then, I'll shift, and do something else. I've been noticing because I know it was 23. I was looking at going after the 53 Mantle or the 54 Aaron, but they were just priced, out of my price range. Mm-hmm. But I feel like over the last few years, like I've been watching and I see they're going down in price. And I was like, okay, I could probably get a low grade. So I might shift towards that. But again, it's like, watching the national, like not the national, but the Strongsville videos, so it's like, I was on a cruise when you guys were all there.
Okay.
Like I boarded a cruise ship. Yeah. So I boarded a cruise ship on the 12th. And so I didn't get any video. So I was like trying to get caught up on stuff now. But to me, it's like, and I feel like the 50s and 60s cards are almost like a dime a dozen. If that was like that was the junk wax era of that time frame, because it's like like you see them all the time. Like it doesn't matter. You can always see them cards in cases. They're always being sold. And like to me, I want to start going after like the older stuff, some of the rarer stuff, and are scarce. That I don't know why I feel like that's where I'm shifting to, but at the same time, I'm still drawn to, the dime a dozen, cards, like whoever, like the 50, 60 stuff. Those are beautiful cards. And so I don't know, like I know when I went into Chicago in 23, I had a list of things, and it was just squirrel, kind of moment. And that's how I ended up, I was looking at certain things, and I was dead set. Like I found this one card, and it's crazy. Well, there's two, and it involves Orlando because he ended up coming over and helping me, look at the card, talk about each card, and come up with a decent price for it and everything, and then doing that. So that was like my first big, like real big purchase, what was the White Cap. My first T206.
Nice.
It's in a one, but like, yeah, it's nice.
It presents well.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's some paper loss in the front and everything like that, but it's the White Cap, which I think is like the more rare.
Yeah. Yep. It's a little bit harder than the dark cap. Yep.
Yeah. So, and then the other one's a Cuban card, so, just that I got, with Orlando being there. So I was like, that's like my first big purchase was with Orlando right there by my side doing it and stuff. And now it's weird also is because that card or those cards and stuff that I got, I'm friends with the dealer. So he's been on my show a couple of times. Like we talked about, the national for last year, what he was selling, the whole Ramsey set. And then we did the, why you collect baseball and him collecting the Negro Leagues and the history, of that too. So, I mean, it's kind of weird how things happen in our life in the hobby, things come around and stuff. So, I mean, it's just odd. It's just odd to me how things are. Yeah. And I'm just looking forward to seeing the stuff. Yeah. Just whatever everybody else is purchasing. I mean, I'm happy for them. But my mind's always shifting. I always see other people like doing this and doing that. I'm like, yep, maybe I should go that route. Start thinking.
Yeah, that's my problem. There's so many cool things that I see in the display cases there. I'm like, wow, I've never seen that before. That's a really cool card. And it's I like, wait a minute, so many things out there like the squirrel cards that you could just get lost. And it's like, okay, wait a minute, I bought these cool things, but I was looking for this stuff over here. But no, the fact that actually you mentioned sort of a good wrap up here, that you talked about the experience of getting those two cards with Orlando, and we started off by wishing Orlando good health and recovery from his surgery. So that's perfect bookends there. Because I know at last year's national, Stephen with a PH was looking at some Jackie things, and I think I was walking around with him, and I think Orlando was there as well, and we were comparing different copies that different dealers had for this one card that Stephen was looking at. So yeah, he loves to get involved in helping collectors, pick out cards. Hey, this is a good one. This one's better here. This one is this or whatever. So yeah, he's just great helping other collectors out. So
yeah,
looking forward to seeing him at the national.
Yeah, and Orlando also ended up, I don't know how he did it. I mean, maybe because he's friends with the dealer, but it's like we're over there after I brought that purchase. We all went. Like they ate lunch because I didn't eat. My son was with me, so I had to get him something. And Orlando and I like left everybody there in the little dining thing, and then we went out walking and went over to the Cuban card dealer, and we're over there, and we met with his other friend Victor that's down there too. He was there at the booth, and I ended up like talking to the dealer on how he got into collecting, Cuban cards and stuff. And so we're going into that. And so I was looking at this one card, and I guess it's like something Garcia, Silvio Garcia was supposed Branch Rickey's like first choice of bringing into the to break the color barrier.
Okay.
And stuff. But like he, it was the same thing of like, how are you gonna like react to the crowd, calling you names? And he was like, I will kill them. So that wasn't like a good thing. So he didn't want that. But that was the card of that player. And so it was like, we're chatting with Ryan, which was the dealer. And I was like, what do you want for the card? And he was like, looks at it. He's like, $200 and stuff. And I was like, and Orlando and I were like looking at the card, and Orlando just looked at Ryan. He was like, come on, man, help him out. He's just getting into, collecting, Cuban. He just picked up his first one, like, and Ryan's like, let me see it again. And he's like, looks at it and he goes, here, you can take it. And I was like, wow, let me take it. And then he was like, it's yours, just keep collecting them and stuff. And I was like, me and Orlando's like looking at each other with our jaws on the ground, wow. So he just gave me a $200 card for free, and I was like, it was just like, it was weird. So,
wow. Yeah. Wow.
That's a pretty good way to end this.
Yeah. That's a great way to end this episode. And again, tied into Orlando, but that's a great national memory.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, Dave, thank you for being on. I know we had sort of sort of touched base. I forget exactly what the reason was, offline text message or something. And we said about maybe doing some collaboration. I said, hey, it's going to be my turn coming up for Two Guys, One Hobby. So next episode will be Dawn's guest. But glad you were able to work out with your schedule and Dawn with the electricity that we were able to get this done. So again, thanks for coming on as our guest. It was a great.
This was fun.
Awesome.
Like
yeah, appreciate.
I'm glad to be on this side of running the show. You know,
I'm the one worried about pressing all the buttons and zooming in and stuff. You just get to talk. So
yeah, because
all right. Well, with everyone that's made it an hour and 10 minutes, we really appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Two Guys, One Hobby. Take care.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.